Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to How Data Feed Management Drives E-Commerce Success. My name is Pamela Hazelton, Senior Contributing Editor to Practical E-Commerce, and I will be your moderator today. We have two presenters today, and I'd like to introduce them. Eyal Zlatan is the E-Commerce Sales Director for Adtaxi, where she creates scalable and profitable omnichannel marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes. Since selling her first retail business immediately after college, Eyal has founded and sold multiple e-commerce companies and enjoys uncovering unseen opportunities to help businesses grow. Paul McGee serves as the Strategic Account Manager at Feedonomics, a full-service product feed platform where he provides solutions that enable the growth of e-commerce clients. He joined Feedonomics in 2019, bringing years of experience working with tech companies like Main Street Hub, which is now GoDaddy, and Upwork. And of course, today's webinar could not happen if it weren't for our generous sponsor, Adtaxi. I'll be available after the presentation to help field your questions. But without further ado, welcome Eyal and Paul.
Thank you, Pamela, for this great introduction. Folks, you're going to be having myself, Eyal Zlatan, Adtaxi Ecom Sales Director on this webinar. And we're going to have Paul McGee from Feedonomics. He's our strategic partner and knows all about feeds.
Hi, Eyal. Thank you for having me today.
It's really great having you here. So to anyone who don't know who Adtaxi are, we are a innovative, client-centric agency that brings passion, precision, and sophistication to digital marketing. And our goal here is to help e-commerce merchants to solve complex marketing challenges with custom performance driven solutions. Hopefully in this webinar, you will learn a thing or two. And I'm going to let Paul introduce Feedonomics here to anyone who are not familiar with them.
Thanks, Eyal. Yeah, Feedonomics is the first do-it-for-you feed optimization platform and service. We work with you and with Adtaxi to help you easily optimize and list your products on hundreds of different channels, anywhere from Google Shopping to Amazon to Facebook or eBay or Walmart, anywhere you want to get listed. And we really, do this in a full service, do-it-for-you feed setup optimization manner, and then we have a 24/7 support team that works with the Adtaxi team to accomplish your goals.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that intro. So on today's agenda, we'll be talking about all the great things e-com biz owners should be thinking of. So trends in e-commerce, what is a product data feed if you aren't familiar with it? Why is product feed is critical to you? Getting it right, what optimizations you should be thinking about implementing and why they are important. Success stories we've seen here at Adtaxi in partnership with Feedonomics. And then we're going to open up this webinar to questions, to Q&A. So if you have something important, don't be shy and ask it away. Going into e-commerce trends, as you all have heard, and some of you have felt it on the revenue in your business, coronavirus is the biggest disruption in the consumer retail spending patterns in the recent history, far eclipsing and from the events in 2008 and even the Great Recession. U.S. consumers are strong and resilient and have ultimately adapted to the new normal. So e-com, as a result of it, has risen as much in the past 6 months that it has in 10 years, which is really a historic moment if you are in the e-com space. So talking a little more about the e-commerce trends we were seeing, the numbers are great. As you can see on the screen, on the forecast, it shows about 10 billion in generated revenue from e-com alone in 2020. These numbers are actually higher as we speak today. And with the widespread closing of retailers as part of lockdown efforts, etc., the likelihood of viable vaccine is pretty far still, about 8 to 12 months away from what we hear. The number you're seeing on the screen will probably rise even more as we become all accustomed to relying on e-commerce and omnichannel shopping. Consumers are now forced to shop online. Their interaction and relationship with brands gone online too. Shoppers' digital expectation are as high as ever. And many non-digital brands, in quotation mark, are now competing for their attention. So from a brand perspective, it shifted the idea of e-commerce from a state of non-urgent or slightly urgent to now massively urgent and critical. Many e-com owners, many retailers, and everyone basically in the industry are asking at the moment, what happens after the quarantine or this COVID phase ends? Home behaviors, will they remain permanent? How will this shape the future of retail? You know, while we don't have the answers, and no one does, all you can do is focus on what matters today and what we know we can control in order to be best prepared for the future. So, talking about the future, let's talk about the feed and the things you can control. So we will go over the feed basics to anyone who doesn't know, and then we're going to go and dive into the details of what you should be doing with your feeds and with your product segmentation. So here's what you can control today. You can control your product feed. Before diving into details, let's talk about what is a product feed and why you need it. A product feed is a TXT or XML file that contains data on all your products, SKUs, variants, sizes, colors, you name it, alongside product grouping and categories. We'll talk about them a lot on this webinar. Now, you know, to kind of take you a step back, imagine that one day you bumped into your good friend Google and you want to tell him about this new great product you're selling, but Google just stands there and smiling. That's because Google is deaf. It doesn't understand English or any other language, but it does understand XML and TXT. So to get Google's attention, you need to talk its language. I'm going to ask Paul, our expert here on all things feed, to kind of add anything he feels important for us for the feed basic knowledge here.
Yeah, thanks, Yael. I think you summed it up really well there, where Google is, you know, sort of deaf, and you know, any search engine out there is really only as good as the data that it has to work with or to look through. And so your product feed is that file that you're going to send to Google with all of your product data. It's what Google's algorithms are going to sift through to determine which products are the most relevant to a user's query and what that user is going to have the most probability or propensity to click on. Google is really incentivized by the click, and so they want to show people ads that they're going to click on. And so the question is, you know, how do you get your feed over to Google or Facebook or, you know, any of these other channels or hundreds of different channels out there that you might want to be advertising on or selling through? And so at Feedonomics, we pull your data and we can pull it from any feed file or shopping platform or even custom site that your website is built on with any kind of schedule. That little tiny green arrow in there, that's actually a big step in the process, where Feedonomics is going to optimize your product data to each channel's specifications and then automatically push that data to those channels at any time. And so with a single integration from your website to Feedonomics, we then create a separate and customized feed for each of those channels that you're advertising or selling on. And so that really alleviates the need for you to change titles, descriptions, or anything like that on your website. And it enables the partnership between Adtaxi and Feedonomics to really customize the product feed on a per channel basis and make sure that the user experience on those channels is as best as possible.
That's really great. I really like this slide around how easy it is to do it and how many channels we can use this feed for. So we talked about what is feed and how easy it is to integrate with other platforms and channels. The other question we're asking is, why do I need that product feed? So, when used correctly, product feeds provide you with increased traffic, brand recognition, and sales from customers that are ready to buy your goods or services. We have now, just like Paul mentioned here a minute ago, have the capability to push your product feed into all the major platforms: Google, Bing, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and the list goes on. Talking about the different platforms, you want to be selling on multiple channels. It is the utmost importance, especially today, looking at the trends, to increase your brand awareness and revenue in today's environment. So more channels equals more revenue. Paul, anything else you want to add there? I know we're talk about internally how important feeds, but I'm sure you have more insight about why folks need feed in their product offering.
Yeah, so I mean, if you don't have a feed, you're not going to be able to successfully advertise on, those different channels. So think about, the remarketing ads that may happen on Facebook. Facebook needs to know, which products me as a consumer visited on your site. And to do that, they need to have a data feed to reference. And so we need to make sure that the data in that feed is accurate and very detailed. We want to include things like price, description, imagery, all your different variants, any sort of attributes about your products that you might think, even material or color. And then we can also add in some custom labels. And so in-depth information is really what is needed to convince a customer to buy from you over your competition. And a well-made product feed is really going to help increase your visibility across those different channels, in addition to reducing your cost per acquisition, increasing your return on ad spend. And this the great thing about partnering with Adtaxi and Feedonomics is that you avoid having to do this yourself. When you do it yourself, you're sort of going to maybe hack your way through it. You're going to have to learn how to use that feed management tool. You're going to have to first off know what a feed, what feed optimization is and how to go about it. And so you're going to spend a lot of time and energy going through that, where it really makes sense to work with experts to help do that for you and take that off of your plate.
Well said. So let's talk about optimization, right? Let's peel back the curtain. We have mentioned that word, and everyone in the industry talking about optimization. So we've so far talked about feeds, why you need them, how they can increase your visibilities. Let's dive into the optimization and the strategies that are needed in order to thrive at times and be ahead of your competition. So our goal here going forward is to peel back on the black curtain of what optimizations are, how they look on the back end, and what you can do with it, as well as all the success stories we're seeing around us. Paul, I'm going to let you talk about this.
Yeah. So thanks, Yael. I mean, this is really about talking about why does feed optimization matter? And I think first we need to understand how Google's algorithms work. As I mentioned earlier, Google is incentivized on the click because that's how they get revenue from these advertising campaigns. So Google wants to show you or show users the products that most closely match their search query. And we can see in this example here, this is a pretty fun little example. If you go to Google Shopping and you look for shirts without stripes, you're going to see a lot of striped shirts. And that's simply because Google is matching shirts and stripes, those major keywords from your query, to the titles in the data feeds that are in Google Shopping from these different brands, and showing you the ones that they think you are most likely to click on. And so feed optimization is making sure that the product data you send to any advertising channel is not only clean, meaning that we're not, having rogue HTML in there or missing values, and it's set up in the way that Google or Facebook or whoever, wants to see it to their specifications, but it's also highly relevant and closely matches the way users search for your products. And the problem here is that most people don't want to change, how their titles, descriptions, or other attributes are seen on their website. And so they might send a really basic product feed over to Google. So like in this example, the title on my website is Air Max shoes. Well, the thing is, you should absolutely not change the way your titles look on your website in order to have a good search or shopping experience. You've spent a lot of time, a lot of money optimizing your website for conversion. And so that's why you need someone in the middle, like Feedonomics and Adtaxi, to take the data from your site, transform it into a clean and relevant feed for Google or Facebook or Snapchat, wherever you may be advertising, in order to make sure you get the most out of those campaigns, and you're matching the way, Google's algorithms work, but you're also still benefiting from the SEO and all of the conversion optimization that you've done on your website.
That's awesome. And by the way, just to kind of rephrase what you said, because that question comes up a lot when I talk to our advertisers, our new and existing. So what you just said is we can do all these great optimization and have their website be untouched. They can do whatever they want with their website for SEO and user experience purposes. And then the feed simultaneously lives in that Google Merchant Center space and Facebook shopping space, etc. Correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's talk take an even deeper dive into the descriptions and the category types and why it matters. So the consequences basically of not including relevant search terms in your titles or having incorrect Google Shopping categories are basically loss of exposure, impressions that decrease your relevancy, and that can lead actually to higher CPCs and fewer clicks on your ads. In essence, your ROA will be hurting from it, your return on ad spend in your paid campaigns. On the other side, the consequences of products with generic product types are, less freedom to choose where your ad spend is being directed. And then fewer options for bidding customization when creating ad campaigns. And the third one could be your products may be underbid if they fall into the wrong product group. And I see that a lot when we do our audits for our new advertisers, that they are leaving money on the table by not having these optimizations that will, not basically allow them to have customized bidding strategy and spend money where they make money, spend less money where they make less money, which is really important when you're trying to grow your brand. And so looking even closer at product descriptions, you have the ability to emphasize unique qualities that your products have. For example, power words, organic, man-made, non-GMO, vegan, just like in your example before, shirts without stripes, including gender. Obviously, it's an easy win. And there are multiple examples of what other different description ability you can emphasize in your shopping campaigns. So Google Shopping, by the way, gives you 150 characters. Use them. Most of the advertisers don't. And then keyword inclusion is obviously rewarded with high relevancy today because a lot of people going online, and the platforms, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, they're all centric around user experience, relevancy is key to win the auction when you buy media from these platforms. So when we work hand in hand with Feedonomics, it is our best practice to ensure these nuances are executed to the T and followed every day, every week, and every month. Your campaigns are running with us. Again, taking that heavy lift and having experts do that for you. And so talking about product description and product categories, another thing we obviously should talk about are custom labels. Not a lot of people know they actually exist. And when they do know they exist, they don't use them or misuse them oftentimes. Again, we see that in our audits very often. So custom labels can be used to better segment bids for various related products. Well-performing ads can have their bids raised to maintain high placement in search results, or poor performing items can have their bids lowered to not bleed your ad spend. So that's kind of a high view of why you need custom labels. Paul, take it away from here and let us know exactly, you know, all the possibilities and all the different options people can use custom labels in their product feed.
Yeah, well, the possibilities are endless here, so I don't think you want me to list off everyone. That might take us a little bit, but you know, the importance, like Yael said, a lot of people don't use custom labels today, and so that's why having an expert campaign partner like Adtaxi is so crucial. You know, the Adtaxi team lets us at Feedonomics know what custom labels they want to include in your feed, and we build them out for them. And the custom labels may be different between your different goals, your different industry. You know, they're custom, right? They can be specific to you and your business. So we have some common examples of custom labels here on the slide, you know, bucketing things by price or by performance, or maybe even, you know, A/B testing a couple of different items here. And so custom labels allows Adtaxi to further segment your campaigns and be as efficient as possible with your precious ad dollars. So for example, you know, let's say I'm a shoe seller and we have a variety of different price levels. We've got everything from sort of the budget shopper to the luxury shopper. And so I want to have a campaign specifically that's focused on my, you know, the high heels that we sell. But since there are varying price levels, I don't want to bid the same on every high heel. And so if you use, say, this custom label 0 here on the example as a baseline, we could add a custom label into the feed and then into the campaign by price to make sure that you only bid, you know, say $1 for heels that are under $50 that are being sold on your site. And you can bid $1.50 or $2, whatever you decide, for heels that are between $50 and $100. And then you can bid, you know, $2.50, whatever you think, on those heels that are above $100. So you can take your first product group, your high heels, and further segment those out into those price buckets. And then the great thing about custom labels is you can actually layer multiple labels on top of each other to have, you know, a campaign. So let's say we've got the price as the first one, and then we know that, you know, certain heels that are under $50 are high converting products. Well, maybe we can spend, you know, a few dollars more or a few cents more on those products, and then the lower performing products we can spend a little bit less. So that's how custom labels really help you get the most out of your ad dollars. Working with an expert team like Adtaxi is the way to go to get the most out of that.
Right on. So not all products are made equal, right?
That's right. And so we'll also, you know, sort of talk about A/B testing, and you know, Feedonomics and Adtaxi can help you set this up to get as close to an A/B test as possible on shopping campaigns. You know, to be clear, you don't have control over every variable in the you know, out there on the internet, so such as like who else is running campaigns, how much are they bidding or spending, And so you don't have total control, but you can control how your listings look and how those campaigns are set up. And so by working with Adtaxi, we can test keywords again across different categories to see, which keywords perform the best for your products in particular. We could test different images to understand which product image gets the best click-through rate. And these results are monitored via your campaign performance. So Adtaxi completes all the data analysis needed to determine which of these tests really bring the best results for your campaigns and your goals in particular, to make sure that we're constantly learning, testing, and adapting to what we learn and what's working best for you. Another, sort of question about, your feed out there is the fact that how do I monitor my data, and make sure that my product feeds are up to snuff, And with most DIY feed platforms out there, since you have to do it yourself and you have to, like we mentioned earlier, sort of hack your way through the setup, a lot of times that leads to a set it and forget it type of approach. And at Feedonomics, that's the opposite of approach as what we take. So we are using our data governance feature here to automatically check your product data while it's inside of our platform before it gets to Google, before it gets to Facebook. So we and the Adtaxi team can automatically get alerts when new products are added to your feed that aren't optimized, or products are missing critical attributes that may even, they throw up errors in the Google Merchant Center, or even worse, they get your account suspended so you can't advertise at all. So having that sort of check before data gets to Google, to Facebook, to Snapchat, to wherever you're advertising is very important to ensure that we're always sending the cleanest data, and data that's not going to throw errors or get you suspended. Another couple other features that we employ with the Adtaxi team, one is called FeedAlerts, and then the other is called FeedTelligence. So FeedAlerts, this is another sort of monitoring mechanism that we have where we are proactively monitoring your Google Merchant Center for errors and alerting you when those errors creep up above your custom error tolerance threshold. So most clients have that threshold somewhere in the 1%, 5% kind of area. And then anytime your Google Merchant Centers go above that number, we'll alert the Adtaxi team that something's going on, and we need to look into it quickly, because those disapprovals can result in lots of lost revenue every single day. So we're checking the Merchant Center twice a day and alerting the Adtaxi team anytime we need to take some action, and working with them to get those resolved. And then FeedTelligence, this is a tool that's more about figuring out how people are searching for your products when they convert. And that's very important, because when someone converts, that's obviously the most important time to show up in those campaigns, or have your PLAs surfaced. And so what FeedTelligence is doing is automatically comparing your current shopping feed titles to actual converted search queries. And we identify keywords that people are using when they're ready to purchase that aren't in your feed titles today, and add them into your feed, into your titles, your descriptions, maybe elsewhere in your feed. So what that's going to allow you to do is capitalize on increased relevancy when your users are ready to buy. It should increase your impression rate and click-through rate, decrease your cost per click, and increase your return on ad spend overall. Just a really great way to keep your pulse on consumers' behavior and how they are looking for your products when they're ready to buy.
That's really great. All these great little nuances are there to ensure that folks are, growing their revenue every minute of the day. And the heavy lifting is not on them. They should run their business, and we should run their feed and make sure they are profitable on all platforms. Talking about platforms, if any of you guys are already monetizing media buying on these platforms, when I say these, amongst the platforms you're seeing here that you can use your feed on is Google, Facebook, Snapchat, Microsoft Ads, which is Yahoo and Bing. Let's kind of take a minute there and look at how optimized feeds, all these optimization we just spoke about, fit into your paid ad strategy. So Facebook and Snapchat have pretty much a similar feed requirement. Is that correct, Paul?
Yep. Yeah. A lot of people just sort of go off of the Google standard.
All right. So it is very common kind of when you have your Google feed and then you tweak your feed to kind of go in hand with Facebook and Snapchat requirement is to push those two into Facebook and Snapchat, and you can do it simultaneously. Once you do that, it will allow you to advertise your products dynamically for retargeting and prospecting purposes on these platforms. So just FYI, if you are thinking about your retargeting strategy, especially because the flow of clicks into your website will grow this holiday season. Now, optimizations that we have discussed, and Paul kind of went over them in depth in the last couple of slides here, they will be crucial for Google and Microsoft shopping ads. So Google Shopping, not like Google search text ads, it solely lives and breathes within the feed and the quality of it. So it literally can make or break your shopping ad campaign. Having an optimized feed and running Google Shopping ads, it's crucial. It's even more evident if you guys use Google Smart Shopping, which is basically it uses Google AI to serve ads. It has some predictable modeling there. And again, having that optimized feed allows Google's AI to serve your shopping ads to the right audiences at the right beat. So in addition to Google Shopping, which kind of pretty much all the optimization we've talked about, those could be implemented on your shopping ads. If you do have a hybrid business, i.e. if you have a brick and mortar component in your business and e-com business, you should take advantage of local inventory ads. So Google local inventory ads, they will allow you to drive traffic and revenue into your brick and mortar store. Big advantage of local inventory ads is that consumer can choose to pay online with the merchant or in person, click and collect now, or a store pickup. That allows you to pay online, the merchant or Google hosted, and it is important to know that it's more prevalent on mobile because consumers have location service turn on. Paul, anything else that crucial for anyone who listens to us to know about Google local inventory ads? I'm asking because they are crucial and so very important for businesses that are experiencing this down due to closures in retail that we spoke about. And that could be a really great benefit and solution to make sure revenue isn't hurting this holiday season.
Yeah, well, LIAs, as Google calls them, local inventory ads, are becoming more and more popular as the search terms of near me or close by are being more and more used in search. And so the theory is that with all of the voice searching that we're able to do today through, Google Home Assistant or those other, the other automated assistants out there, so that people are talking more in sentences when they search. And so Google is seeing this, and they're seeing, wow, these ads are actually performing really well for brick and mortar businesses. And so working with great partners like Adtaxi, has added benefits. For example, right now, Google loves the quality of Feedonomics LIA feeds so much that they have an amazing sort of offer out there for brands that are activating or reactivating local inventory ads to essentially cover your Feedonomics fee for a certain period of time, given a small commitment on your side to spend a certain amount of money on local inventory ads every month. So, you know, it's just great to be connected to great partners, because we have relationships with all of those, you know, channels out there, and can a lot of times get you some added, you know, icing on the cake, so to speak, to help you out.
Awesome. And so beside Google and all the different ad formats, social, right? Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and more, you know, you can use these channels to send your already optimized feed, and basically they can mimic your Google feed and all the segments that you've created. They can easily change and tweak the landscape of your imagery to ensure that it fits all the different devices, i.e. increase your relevancy. And then the other most important benefit, and we'll talk about it here in a minute with one of our case studies, is, you know, once you have an optimized feed and you pushed it to the platform, you can then use your feed and the segments you've already created to retarget. But most importantly, and it's missed by a lot of advertisers, cross-sell and upsell. Especially now during the holiday season, we know that folks are looking for gifts under 40, under 30, under 50. It's an easy sell to create a segment with a specific price allocation, and then just target the audiences you already have in your pool, or prospect with these different ads. So it's really great to have that in your book of business. So talking about success stories. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is a success story. One of the success stories we've seen with a CPG e-com brand we have, and we have quite a few of them now. So our client have asked us to create more revenue without increasing their budget, the $1 million question, right? And so one of our solutions was to follow with all the optimizations that Paul has talked about, and run it on Google Smart Shopping campaign for them. A lot of our advertisers use Google Smart Shopping, but it's relatively new. So Google's machine learning promises to make predictive decisions to maximize conversions, something that goes beyond your normal campaign optimization in recent years within the shopping realm in Google. And as you can see on the screen, the results were great. And a lot of it, obviously, it's due to the feed and how optimized it was, i.e. making it so easy for Google to find and present these ads to the right shoppers at the right place and the right time. Our conversions went up by 62%. Conversion value, the actual revenue, went up by 64%. And then we've seen a few other improvements which are great, and amongst those will clicks and click-through rates, but we also have seen few other improvements. So feed was really crucial in here. And then going into another success story that we have on the other side of the rainbow, are the social side. Let me just make sure I'm switching my slide in here. Sorry about that, folks. Here we go. So another client of ours in the home and garden space niche in the e-com space. One of the challenges that he presented to us, and I guess it's not new to any of one of you folks, is he had a lot of clicks, a lot of people looking at the website, looking at the product description pages, but never, not taking good enough of an action to create a really good conversion revenue for them. So what we did is we analyzed performance. We used Google Analytics and Facebook to kind of understand the behavior of these folks and why they're not converting, why they're not clicking on that CTA button. And so what we kind of analyzed and came to conclusion to is that a lot of the people who are not familiar with his brand will not take an action because of the price. The price was a little high with the new shoppers. So we did create a product segmentation within the feed, and we kind of allocated the small price items, we tagged them, and we dynamically went and presented products that are at certain price amount and lower. It just exploded. We've seen X16 RAWs on users that normally will click and bounce off. it increased 90% of their cart activity. And most importantly, because it does affect your CPMs, they're on the ad level, their quality, engagement, and conversion rate ranking went from below -20%, which is the lowest you have in Facebook, to above average, which is the highest. So definitely having an optimized feed is something that everyone should strive to, because it does affect your revenue, your bottom line. Now, if all the things we spoke about here, myself and Paul, have increased your appetite for getting to know more about the feed offering or just assessing what you have, I will invite you to click on the link you will be presented. And we are offering, for this time, a complimentary 100% free feed audit. Partnering obviously with Feedonomics will assess your data and provide detailed, normally it's about 14 to 20 page audit alongside with recommendation and the things we're seeing. Most importantly, this will help you avoid wasteful spending. So just sign up through the link, including in the follow-up email, and we will do the heavy lifting for you. To sum up here, to anyone who are not familiar with Adtaxi, and this is the first time you're hearing this name, we are an omni-channel digital solution agency partnering with Feedonomics for feed optimizations. We have partnerships with all these great platforms with Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Snapchat, Trade Desk, and we have won a bunch of awards previously because we do feel that bottom line does matter, and we treat people and present them with the best technology in the market. I want to thank you all for listening so far, and I also want to thank Paul for joining myself here in this great webinar, unveiling all the different optimization, all the things that go on the back end when someone presents us with their feeds. Paul, thank you. Appreciate you joining me.
Thank you, Yael. This has been really amazing, and we just love working with you and your team. And it's exciting for me on the account management side to really see the growth of those clients really take off, and see the impacts that we're both having together.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. So folks, I'm going to open up this webinar to the questions if you have any. I'm going to let Pamela take it away, and hopefully we've received some interesting questions here, and we'll try to answer them at the best we can.